Hey everyone, it's Rob Ryder, and this video is for all the persecuted Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, Patriots, and Capitol defenders of January 6, 2021. If you know any, please make sure they watch this video. If you know a member of the Oath Keepers or Proud Boys, please have them watch the video because they're sure to know somebody. And hey, I'm just offering my 2 cents on the things I know from the study I've done over numerous years, right? That aren't being talked about, and your attorney's never going to tell you this shit, because they're part of the problem. They're an esquire, right? They're an agent of the crown. Now, an esquire isn't a title of nobility, right? A knight is a title of nobility, but an esquire works for a knight. So, they became members of the bar, and to do that, they had to give up their First Amendment rights. That's what it says in the bar information for the state of Michigan, right? That the attorneys give up their First Amendment rights. So technically, by joining a bar, you're agreeing to a society that is looking to overthrow the constitutional form of government that we have, because they don't allow their members to have First Amendment rights. So keep that in mind, right? So anyways, on January 3rd, 2021, what happened? Our representative-elect imposters failed to qualify as members of Congress. They then unlawfully occupied the Capitol building and obstructed the certification of presidential electors on January 6, 2021. And so just think back now. On January 3rd, 2021 was the first session of Congress. And in the first session, all the members are supposed to take the proper oaths of office and A, B, C, check. When it's all done, hey, you're a member of Congress, right? Be it a senator or be it a representative. It's easier to see the paper trail with the House of Representatives, at least the emissions in the paper trail, than it is to see it with the senators. Because as we see, they, for the House, they put this information in the Congressional record. But they don't really do that for the Senate. At least I haven't seen it. But you can go and watch the senators on January 3rd, on YouTube. They'll be taking the oath of office, and you can hear what they say and see what they do. And I'm saying, well, that's fine that you did that. That's a wonderful ceremony, but that isn't what the law said to do. So you're not qualified as a representative or a senator. And if that's the case, then we don't have a seated democracy civil government. Right? They did the same thing with Biden. I mean, they do it with every president, right? That if you look at the presidential oath in the second article, there's no place in there for the president to put their name. And it does not say, "So help me God," at the end. And yet, when the Chief Justice gives the oath to the president, he says "I" and puts the guy's name in there. At the end says, "So help me God." So they've altered the oath, and therefore they didn't satisfy the second article. The other thing about the second article is that oath doesn't say anything about supporting the Constitution, which is in the sixth article. And because the president is an executive officer, then he would have to take an oath to satisfy the sixth article, separate from the oath he took to satisfy the second article, because he still has to support the Constitution. That's what it says. All executive and judicial officers. So anyways, I'm going to show that we don't have a seated democracy or civil government. But what we do have is the DOD, and the DOD says it is the fourth estate. I mean, I'll show you where it says it, where they say that they are. And if the DOD is the fourth estate, then that would be the place you need to go to get relief if the other three are vacant. Right? So the DOD has a manual. It's called the DOD Law of War Manual. Right? You can just Google it, DOD Law of War Manual. There you are. You go to Chapter 4, and it talks about protected persons, or just the statuses of persons, one of which is protected person, which, that's what you want. Hey, I'm a protected person under the Geneva Convention. Now, I can say that because I'm a veteran, right? So by default, because I've not been released from the military, I don't have an order that ever released me from the custody and control of the Army, which is what's required by the regulation, then I'm still in. But other people, there's many classes of protected persons, and another one is volunteer members of the Red Cross, right? So I suggest if you haven't ever done this, right, that you donate $10 to the Red Cross, and that will make you a volunteer. There's 3 ways to volunteer for the Red Cross. That's one of them, like money, time, and talent or something like that, right? Because sometimes they just need people to push a broom, and other times they need people that have lots of talents, right? But they can always use money. Well, if you donate $10, that makes you a volunteer member. You can make up a Red Cross brassard, put it on your arm, and claim to be a protected person under the Geneva Convention and a volunteer member of the Red Cross, right? Or you can claim veteran military status. Again, for the reasons I said, if you're a veteran, brothers and sisters, we're still in, and actually we're still getting paid, and that's why they really fuck around with people when it comes to their VA benefits and so forth. So if we could get that far, well, then what we also need to do is prosecute the United States of America spies and saboteurs, who's pretending to be the Congress, right? Because they're going to take a false oath and then take another false oath to get access to state secrets. This is all in the things they're going to do on the first day. Well, that makes them a spy. And they conceal their full legal name on the oath that they take. They don't, like mine's Robert Allen Rutluski. What's on your birth record? What's on your driver's license, right? That's your full legal name. That's your identification. That's what has to be on your oath. If it says I, with a place to put your name in, it has to be your full legal name. No middle initial, no nickname, no, Robert Allen Bud Rutluski or some bullshit like that. Just your full legal name and nothing else. And so there's really only 2 classes of people that have taken the proper oath of office the way it's said to be done, and that's commissioned officers and enlistees. Right? We're both taking the oath just the way it's written for us to do, and we don't fit the criteria of the 6th article. Right? A military officer really isn't in the executive branch. He's not considered an executive officer. He's a military officer. Well, the 6th article says executive and judicial officers of the United States. Well, that isn't what he is, or they are, right? So anyways, I wanted to mention these things just, because I'm thinking about, well, what would you do next? Well, if you're already in court and you're standing there, well, that's different than, being sitting at your desk saying I'm going to write a piece of paper, right? But I know that this will work. If you say, magistrate, I accept your oath, I bind you to it, and I remind you of your duty to God and country, right? And you're willing to say that up to 3 times, no matter what the judge says, you just keep saying it, right? Until he acknowledges that you've accepted his oath, right? And it's really simple, right? That an oath is a unilateral contract. Only the judge signed it, right? So all a unilateral contract can be used for is for gifts and donations, right? So the man's donated his oath to the country, to the public. But for it to be binding on you and him, you have to accept it, right? Like any other contract, you have to accept it. It's a unilateral contract, and now you need to acknowledge it, that you've accepted his oath, and, well, now he's under his oath. Until then, he's not under it. But once you have him under his oath, what are you going to tell him? Right? Well, I'd say something like, I, Robert Allen Rutluski, am a protected person under the Geneva Convention, and if necessary to prove my innocence, I demand trial by court-martial. And I wouldn't say any more. Right? But again, that's if you're standing in court. Now, I've told people before to do this with this, I accept your oath, and they've done it, and they've had their cases dismissed. Right? It's just, you have to fucking do it. If you need it explained to you why it's going to work, well, then you don't have enough faith to do it, right? Because you're doing it because the dude took an oath to God and country. Even if they took an improper oath, right? They still took an oath to support the Constitution, and they swore to God. So it doesn't matter if they didn't use their proper name. God knows who they are. Right? There'd be blasphemy. And they're not going to blaspheme. right? Because if there's two jurisdictions, one's military and the other one is ecclesiastic or spiritual, and technically, I believe it's a court of under Talmudic law, under the Noahide laws, because of the fact that the Congress has said before that the foundational laws of this nation are the Noahide laws. Right? Go look at what's that thing called? Education Day. Right? Or Google, United States under Noahide laws, and you'll see it. It can take you right to a public law that's been passed that right in there says the nation is governed by the Noahide laws. Well, that may be their nation, but my nation's governed by the Constitution. So I need to get out of that jurisdiction and into the jurisdiction where the Constitution is, and that jurisdiction has a gold fringe flag. Right? Because there's no civil government. It's under military rule, and it's been that way since the time of Lincoln. He declared martial law during the Civil War. There's never been a peace treaty or a special proclamation to end the martial law that he imposed over the United States. There have been ones put in for the certain states, but as far as I know, there's never been one put in, a special proclamation for the United States, right? Which is what Lincoln did. He put the United States under martial law. And that's why back in, during the Civil War, there was some guy in Indiana that got tried in a military tribunal in Indiana that had never been anywhere near the war, right? Just because of somebody he knew, right? And it was a big deal back in the day. I have to find that court case again, but, that was his thing. Well, how can I be going to a military tribunal if we have functioning civil courts? Well, all that has to happen then is to have non-functioning civil courts, and it would be a military tribunal, which is what's happened. And how do you not have a civil system in the United States? Well, if you don't take the oath to satisfy the 6th article of the Constitution, which is the very first law passed by the first Congress after the ratification of the Constitution that said, this is the oath that satisfies the 6th article of the Constitution of the United States. I state your name, do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States, period. Right? If you're not going to do that, then and we're not going to enforce it, well, then why would they follow any of our laws? Right? But if you enforce the first law, then all the shit they did afterwards is mute. Right? So you can't try to catch them at the 10th thing they did wrong. You got to catch them at the first one. The first one they did wrong is they didn't take the oath of office. Okay, so anyways, another thing to do would be to file an Army sworn statement form, a DA 2823, properly executed before a certifying officer. Now, I don't believe you can do that before a notary public because they're for private matters, and this is a matter into the civil government, which happens to be military. And so I think, basically you need somebody who has a gold fringe flag to be the one that's putting doing the notarial act, right? It's not a notary public. It may be a notary act, but it's not being done by a notary public. It's being done by an officer of the government, a certifying officer. As a veteran, I think that a veteran service officer should be able to do this. But I have yet to convince them that they can. And that's another video, right? But I'm just saying, whoever has a gold fringe flag should be able to do it, right? And put on there that I was supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States. That's what I was doing January 6th. No, I wasn't in the insurrection. I was there supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States from persons who are impersonating representatives of the United States of America and flip it over on them, right? So especially in a federal court, right? The court's a military tribunal, not a constitutional civil court. It's not admiralty law, it's martial law, right? The gold fringe flag is governed by AR 840-10, 840-10. Chapter 2, Section 3 will tell you all the places you can use a gold fringe flag. It don't say anything about admiralty law in there. The Navy doesn't fly a gold fringe flag, right? Look at a color guard. Who's got the American flag? Army. Has it got a gold fringe on it? Yes. Okay, then the Army has a gold fringe flag. That's their duty. It's not the Navy's. So there are a lot of people who have this perception that it's all admiralty law, and they're wrong from the beginning, and they're going to be wrong to the end because they were wrong at the beginning. It doesn't matter if they did everything else right afterwards. It's not fucking admiralty law. It's the military. And the military would use a DA form 2823, right? That's the proper sworn statement, which is evidence, right? So where an affidavit is an oath rendered to writing, a sworn statement is evidence. It's like a self-deposition, right? And it'll be certified by a public officer, and then by doing that under the rules of evidence, like Federal Rules of Evidence 902, I think it is, it would be what is considered self-authenticating evidence. It doesn't need anything else to prove it is what it says it is. Well, that isn't what people put into court. All the shit they did with Trump, it was all affidavit, affidavit, affidavit. Nobody put in a sworn statement. Right? They put in all these affidavits. They keep saying on TV they're not putting in evidence, and everybody's getting upset and bitching about it. Well, they didn't put in evidence. They put in fucking affidavits. Right? That's what the attorney said to do. File an affidavit. That's what Rudy Giuliani said to do. File an affidavit. Right? A bunch of fucking buffoons. You know, they drank too much of the Kool-Aid. Something happened to them. Right? They lost their common sense. And I'm all about common sense because I'm a staff sergeant, Robert Allen Bertluski, United States Army veteran. Right? I just like things really simple. 1, 2, 3. I don't have to think more than 3 steps ahead. When I get there, I have something else to do. But, you know, a lot of shit could happen between the first step and the third step. So I'm not trying to think it all the way to the end. I'm just trying to think it ahead. Right? So, anyways, hey, you can call me Rob Ryder, but don't call me Mr. Right? Don't ever let him call you Mr. Because a Mr. works for an Esquire. Right? In the hierarchical structure of the crown, you have the title of nobility, the knight, and the knight has his shield bearer, which was an esquire, and the esquire had a stable hand, which was the mister. And the mister doesn't have any rights. You're just working in the stable. Right? Now, unless you're a warrant officer, if they want to promote me and make me a warrant officer and pay me warrant officer pay for retirement, I'll take it. You can call me a mister then. So, anyways, if you're one of these persecuted groups, all right, please, send me an email, courtofrecord@aol.com, or you can call me. Right? But you need to be willing to do something other than listen to what the attorney is telling you to do. Because he's the problem in your defense. Right? He's taking you to a court where the guy sitting there as a judge has not taken an oath to satisfy the 6th article of the Constitution. Right? So then he's not a judge of the judicial branch of the United States. Well then, why are you there? It's because the prosecutor brought you to an improper venue because it's easier to win in this venue. They're just not going to tell you that's what happened. Right? Now, if that venue then is Talmudic law, I don't really know. Right? If it's a spiritual court or what they're doing there. But it's not the jurisdiction we want to be in. We want to be in the protected person jurisdiction under a court-martial. Because the thing about a court-martial is that a court-martial will protect your due process rights or due process protections, not your rights or protections, right? Which should be protected by the Constitution, but the court you're going to is not a court under the Constitution, so it doesn't really care about the Constitution. Right? But if you said, hey, this is a military matter, well, now I got to protect the guy's due process protections. Right? I didn't know he's in the military. This is the thing. The prosecutor or the judge didn't bring you to court. Now, he may know everything that's going on, and I'm sure that he does, right? But the judge didn't bring you there. The one that brought you to court is the plaintiff's attorney. Right? And if you go there and argue the facts that the plaintiff's attorney is providing, well, then you give the court jurisdiction. But if instead you say to the judge, well, judge, if you didn't take the oath that's in 1 Stat 23 to satisfy the 6th article of the Constitution, then you're really not a judge under the Constitution. Right? So I accept your oath. I bind you to it. I remind you of your fiduciary duty. That's what I used to say. What did I say this time? Whoa. I accept your oath. I bind you to it and remind you of your duty to God and country. I like that even better. Right, Judge? Do you acknowledge that I've accepted your oath? If not, I'll say it again. Because they're going to act like they didn't hear you. I mean, this is what people who have done this have said. They act like they didn't hear you. Or they'll tip down their glasses. Or they'll cup their ear. Right? Say it again. My brother-in-law did this. Now, look, he got stopped for no tag on his car, no insurance, no driver's license, no registration, and $19,000 he owed in child support. Right? So he didn't wait to his court date. He went as soon as he got released from, because he got picked up for a couple of days and he got bailed out. Within a couple of days, he was back. He found the court where the judge was that was going to hear his court case. And he walked in and he had some paperwork he wanted the bailiff to give to the judge. And just as soon as he had a chance, he said, Judge, excuse me, can I ask you a question? The judge said, yeah. I said, well, I accept your oath. I bind you to it. Remind you of fiduciary duty. And the judge said, he said, well, and that's why my brother-in-law said, well, I was told I just need to tell you this 3 times, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do it right now, Judge. For a second time, I accept your oath. I bind you to it. I remind you of fiduciary duty. And for the 3rd time, I accept your oath. I bind you to it. I remind you of your fiduciary duty. And then they talked for a little bit, and the judge looked over at the prosecutor and says, well, what do you want to do about this? And the prosecutor had no idea what was going on because it wasn't the proper day and there was no paperwork in for my brother-in-law there and so forth. And the judge said, nole prosecule? And the prosecutor asked, Judge, exactly, that's what I want to do. Nole prosecule. My brother-in-law left. Now, you ask anybody else who's owed $19,000 if they were let out of jail without paying money for their back child support. It didn't happen. I'm just saying there's something about doing it, right? You can get them under their oath, but then once you have them there, you have to get them to do something for you before they stop for the day or adjourn or something else because, well, then the spell will be broken. And if that happens, you're going to have to do it again. But until then, right, the judge will protect your constitutional protections. So tell them what it is you want them to do. Right? I, Robert Albert Lusky, am a protected person under the Geneva Convention, and if necessary to prove my innocence, I demand trial by court-martial. Right? Because at that point, the judge could say, well, I find you innocent right now. Right? You don't have to have a trial. But if you had to, well, there you go. So I'm just playing with a few things. None of this stuff is, written in stone. This is all seat of the pants stuff based on what I think I know today, right? So, but what I do know is they have a thing called the Army Sworn Statement, and if it was done properly, the Army would agree with you, well, that's your sworn statement, right? So I want to show you some proofs now or evidences that I rely on to say all these things that I've just said to you that you may never have heard before. So give me just a minute, and I'll load them up. Hang on. Excuse me. Okay, most of this doesn't have any rhyme or reason. It's just a document with some information I want to talk about for a second. Go to the next one. So, clear some of these things off the board. So, if you're told, hey, you got to go watch this guy's video, right? You're Oath Keeper or Proud Boy or whatever your reason was, if you're being persecuted for what happened on January 6th, right? And you don't know who I am. I've been doing videos for quite some time. They're on YouTube at Rob Ryder with 3 B's, ROBBBRYDER, right? On, all sorts of things to do with veterans issues and what's going on in America and, what's going on in a foreclosure case and so forth and so on. And, I've just learned over all that time that, well, these people don't have a proper oath of office. So why are we even going there? And yet you end up going back and trying to do it again just because, it's the brainwashing, right? But after a while, that shit can wear off. It's just, what do you do then? Right? So that, Rob Ryder, ROBBBRYDER, And just real quick, this is the DA 2823 form, right? You should write that down if you haven't done it already. DA, Department of Army, Form 2823, sworn statement. See, and it says routine uses, right? May be further disclosed to federal, state, local, foreign, government, law enforcement agencies, prosecutors, courts, Child Protective Service, victims, witnesses, the Department of Veterans Affairs. That's what I'm trying to use it for, Department of Veterans Affairs, the Office of Personnel Management, so forth and so on, right? That if this is done right, then the Army, the DOD, will say, well, this is the man's sworn statement. If it's not done right, well, then it's just hearsay evidence, which doesn't have any value. And on this form, I'm going to take a lot of time going through it right now, but I, want to make a following statement under oath. Okay, well, fine, go ahead. For as long as it takes, and you get to the last page, and when you're all done, you're going to do the affidavit, right? So there is an affidavit in a sworn statement, but the document's not called an affidavit, it's called a sworn statement. And this is where you're going to swear to what you said, right? So this is the all-important piece. Who can do this right here? Signature of person administering oath, and what is their authority to administer oaths? Now, in the military, they have certain people that can do it, right? So that's what they'd put there. But I say anybody who's got a gold fringe flag could do it, right? So a lot of churches have gold fringe flags, right? I say a pastor could do it. I say the mayor could do it. All these people with gold fringe flag could do it. It's just they won't frickin' do it, right? They've been, they're afraid out of their minds of being persecuted by the, by the bar. And you have to have witnesses. So apparently you got to have 4 people in the room at the same time, right? So, or maybe you could do this over the phone. I don't know. However they would let you do it to get it to be done properly is what needs to be done. I'm just saying I don't believe this part for the person administering the oath could be a notary public. Has to be a certifying officer of whatever the jurisdiction is that you're dealing with. In this case, it's military. But it's military. By that, I mean gold fringe flag military, right? So that's the government. It was put in place by the military, and people fell asleep and forgot what happened, or we've been lied to or whatever. And actually what really happened was at the end of the Civil War, Lincoln wanted to end the martial law, but the governors didn't want to give back the power. They were all, little fiefdoms then. They were all the commander-in-chief of their state, right? They didn't want to go back to civil. They wanted to be commander-in-chief. So, shot Lincoln, some kind of deal was cut, and here we are today with this new form of government that's really under the military. And so as far as I'm concerned as being a member of the military, they can stay that way, right? I just want them to recognize me as part of the government because I'm a veteran. I should be the eyes and ears of the commander-in-chief out in the field. But I'm not talking about people like Whitmer, right? She's not the governor of Michigan. In fact, I'll show you, I've been trying for a year now to get her ass arrested, but I'll show you my latest attempt probably before we get done with this. And I'm trying to do it with this affidavit form and send it to the, through a veteran service officer, right, to do the oath to the adjutant general of the state, who's actually the adjutant general and director of the military and veterans affairs for Michigan. So it's like, well, that's the guy that, he's in charge of all this stuff. That's who I need to give it to. He's the adjutant general of your state is the state militia, state armed forces, general court-martial authority. He can do it. Okay, quite a few more things to show, but they're kind of interesting, so hang on a minute. Okay, hey, if you're one of them persecuted individuals, right, then if you were to go to Pacer, Pacer, right, you could go look up your court case and, or even if you're not have a court case, you can still go do it, which I did. And so here's General Flynn's case, right, from last year, or 2017. Right, look at Michael T. Flynn is a defendant in 2 cases. Now look at these 2 cases. They're all the same except one is a -1 and one isn't. USA v. Flynn, Michael T. Flynn. But the case number's the same. Well, isn't that, being tried twice for the same crime? Right? So if you're in court now for something that happened on January 6th and you go look at your case, you're going to find that there's 2 cases been opened. Does your attorney know that? I doubt it. And, it's not like it's a mistake. It says defendant in 2 cases, not defendant in the same case with 2 different numbers. No, it's 2 different cases. Okay, so there's one like that, and I had another one to show you that I think, right here. So this one's a little bit harder to see, but this is Coy Griffin, who was somebody that was, I think he's a county commissioner from Montana, something like that, right, who got popped soon after January 6th, and same with him. Coy Griffin is a defendant in 2 cases. And the only difference is one has a -1 at the end and the other one doesn't. Right? USA v. Griffin and Coy Griffin. So, again, they say that, he's a defendant in 2 cases. Well, how can that be? How can there be 2 cases going on? Isn't that has to be double jeopardy? Something fishy here. That sounds like Talmudic law. Alrighty. Hang on again. Okay, so in General Flynn's case, right, this is the case that does not have the -1. Right? It's United States of America versus Michael T. Flynn. Well, United States of America is not the name of the United States. United States of America is a dominion of King George III and his successors, as stated in the Treaty of Peace, 1783. And Michael T. Flynn is not the full legal name of whatever Michael T. Flynn's middle name is. Actually, his given name is Michael T., whatever that is. Right? He doesn't really have a middle name. So, Michael T. Flynn is a thing. It's not a person. Or it could be a John Doe, but it's not the general of the United States Army. Right? That's not his full legal name. And this is not the name of the government, right? So this document is a simulated legal process under color of law that's been filed by people who are supposed to be attorneys, right, that are using fictitious names, middle initial names, right? None of these names in this style is authorized to practice in a court of the United States. I'll show you an example here. Where are those things here? Hang on again. Right here's, it's back in 2017. I was helping a gal in her court case, and we contacted the court to see, right, if the attorney that she was acting, the attorney that was acting apparently for the trustee of the United States, right, was registered in the court, and he was registered as Dean Edward Rittenberg, right? But every piece of paper he put in was D.E. Rittenberg. So this is the name that is authorized to be used in the court. But that's not the name that attorneys use. They use names with middle initials. And it was the same thing here, where in the state, right, because you have to be a member of the state bar, well, they have him in there as Dean Edward Rittenberg also. So it's not that the name isn't proper. It is. But that's not the name they're using on these documents. Right? They are using something with a middle initial name. So if you went to the clerk of, this must be a court in D.C., right, and say, I want to see the, what do they call those things? What's that? Regarding admission status of the attorney, right, please let this letter serve as confirmation that the attorney, Dean Edward Rittenberg, was admitted to the United States Court for the Western District of Michigan on May 27, 1986. Right? So it came out of the office of the clerk's office. I don't know what the proper name of this thing is, but right, it says admission. It's certification of his admission. I guess that's what we would say it is. Right? Certify his what name he was admitted to practice in the court under. And you would find that, it wouldn't be with a middle initial. It would be with a full legal name. So these people are hiding their true identity. Right? Well, that's what spies do. And they're representing an entity that is not the government of the United States. So why are you in that court? Right? The United States of America doesn't have any jurisdiction in the court that you're going to if you were in the United States, because it's a foreign court or a foreign country, foreign jurisdiction. Right? And that's easy enough to see. It was written into the law. Right? Treaty of Peace of 1783, ratified, proclaimed by the Congress of the United States, which is the Continental Congress, which is a unicameral Congress, not a bicameral. Right? The Congress of the United States is a unicameral legislature. Ratified, where it says in the first section, right, that having pleased of the divine providence to dispose the hearts of the most serene and most potent Prince George III, by the grace of God, King of Great Britain, France, and Ireland, defender of the faith, Duke of Brunswick and Luxembourg, Arch-Treasurer and Prince Elector of the Holy Roman Empire, and of the United States of America. That's his jurisdiction. And if you download this and start going through it, you'll see where, they make distinctions between the United States and the United States of America. Right? So it's not a mistake. Right? John Adams was the late Commissioner of the United States of America. And John Jay was the Prime Minister Plenipotentiary of the United States. Didn't say United States of America. This is interesting, right? Acknowledges the said United States. So the proper name of the United States, when you're talking about New York as the United States, instead of United States of America, is with a hyphen. Right? New Jersey with a hyphen. New Hampshire with a hyphen. But not with North Carolina and South Carolina. Right? So if you see it with New York and that hyphen isn't there, then the jots and tittles are incorrect. Right? The devil's in the details. And he just found one of the places where he left his calling card. So, but forgetting that detail for now, all I wanted to show is, well, King George claims the United States of America. He has since 1783, and no one's ever disputed his claim. So, right? It's a foreign jurisdiction to the United States. Okay, hang on again. Okay, this is the complaint for whatever the gentleman's name was. Corey Griffin, right? Criminal complaint, right? On or about. If you read like Bouvier's, I think it was in Bouvier's Law Dictionary, these types of things, they can't be on or about. They have to be specific, right? Either it happened on January 6th or it didn't, but it can't be on or about. It has to be a particular date. Right? In the county of, and there's nothing there, District of Columbia, the defendant violated. Right? How could they leave the county? How could they leave this blank? The name of the county is District of Columbia. All right, I think that they're all the same name. It's like the name of the county has the same name as the district. But nevertheless, right, it's United States of America. Against somebody with a date of birth, they put X's in there. So this guy is dead, right? It's not a living being. They didn't give a birth date, right? So it's a fiction. He doesn't exist. And yet they'll, put his ass in prison for it, for not existing. Yada, yada, yada. So that was all their stuff. Okay, hang on again. Okay, and just real quick, a document talking about the Fourth Estate, right? From the Washington Headquarters Services Human Resource Directorate, in a DoD Department of Defense instruction manual talking about personnel categories in the DoD Fourth Estate. So the DoD believes it's the Fourth Estate. Now we can, guess at what that means, but I'm saying, well, that means when the other three estates aren't there, the judicial branch, the legislative branch, and the executive branch, you're down to the Fourth Estate. That's where you need to go to get relief. But you need to know that's where you're going to. And them's the people with the gold fringe flag. All right, hang on again. Okay, so here's a few truisms, right? Article 6, Clause 3 of the Constitution says that the senators or representatives before mentioned and the members of the several state legislatures and all executive and judicial officers, ALL, all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. Well, no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. So that's simple enough, right? No religious test and has to support the Constitution. Well, again, like one in Article 2 for the president doesn't support the Constitution. And since he's an executive officer, then he would have to take this oath also. All right, he's got to take 2 oaths. Imagine. Right? In an eligibility clause, members of the United States Congress, the legislative branch of the United States government, are not officers of the United States and cannot simultaneously serve in Congress and as an officer of the United States under the ineligibility clause of the Constitution, which is Article 1, Section 6, Clause 2. This provision states, no senator or representative shall, during the time of which he was elected, be appointed to any civil office under the authority of the United States, which shall have been created, or the emoluments whereof shall have been increased during such time, and no person holding any office under the United States shall be a member of either house during his continuance in office. Okay? Now, the oath that the Congress takes now comes out of 5 U.S.C. 3331, Oath of Office. An individual, except the president, elected or appointed to an office of honor or profit in the civil service or uniformed services shall take the following oath. Right? IAB, which is state your name, right? Put your full legal name in. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And that I take this oath freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God. That's a religious test. Right? This does not affect other oaths required by law. Well, it just said that a senator or representative can't be an officer, and this oath said it was for civil officers elected or appointed to an office of honor or profit in the civil service or uniformed services. So the text of the oath they're taking is the text for somebody in the uniformed services. This is the oath that a commissioned officer, same oath that a commissioned officer takes, which is fine for him to take because he is not a executive officer under the 6th article, right? And only these people under the 6th article take an oath of no religious test, right? Which is the senators and representatives and members of the several state legislatures, right? So your state legislature has to take the same oath. They haven't done it, by the way. All executive and judicial officers, both the United States and the several states, like your governor. Well, anybody in your state who under your state constitution has to take an oath would have to take this oath also. If you're going to claim any authority under the United States, no matter where you are, you need to take an oath to the United States, right? But they're not doing it. So the fact that Congress is taking this oath this oath instead of the oath they should be taking is evidence that they're not actually the Congress. And then when they take this oath, they're using a middle initial name or a nickname or something, and they're not doing the process right, even at that level. They're hiding their true identity. Just so there's no dispute that there is a law that says what oath to take. It was actually, this is the first law passed by the first Congress after the ratification of the Constitution, which is an act to regulate the time and manner of administering certain oaths. June 1st, 1789. Being enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled, that the oath or affirmation required by the 6th article of the Constitution of the United States shall be administered in the form following, to wit, I state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm, as the case may be, that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Period. That's all there is, right? Administered within 3 days after passing this act, right? And then they had more time and so forth and so on, and but there's the oath they're supposed to take. And I didn't pull this up yet, but it won't take long. Right? It's now been codified. Right? 4 USC 101. If you've never done this before, Google it. Right? Just Google 4 USC 101 and look for this govinfo.gov and click on it. I like this one because you get a PDF that has, the oath right out of the just the way it came out of the government printing office. Right? 4 USC 101. Every member of a state legislature and every executive or judicial officer of a state shall, before he proceeds to execute the duties of his office, take an oath in the following form, to wit, I state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. That's in addition to any oath that's required by the state. This is the federal government. This is what it takes to satisfy the Constitution of the United States. And if you haven't done it, then you don't have any authority in the United States. Well, any judge in the state doesn't have this oath. The governor doesn't have the oath. The attorney general doesn't have the oath. The secretary of state doesn't have the oath. The township supervisor doesn't have the oath. The county commissioner doesn't have the oath. The fucking dog catcher doesn't have the oath. Nobody's taking this oath. Well, then apparently we're not under the Constitution of the United States with a civil government. So what do we have? Gold fringe flags. That sounds like the military to me. How about you? All right, hang on again. I wanted to point out, see, it's got this little eagle up in the upper left-hand corner. So this is an authenticated copy. And as long as this stays in the computer, wherever it goes to will be the authenticated copy. Even if it's changed later, they would change the document, right? But once you print this out, that bird won't be blue, it'll be black. Well, then it's no longer authenticated. It just became hearsay. So you really can't, if you try to put this in court just by printing it out and give it to court, you're just giving the court hearsay evidence that doesn't really have any value. However, if you were to print a copy of this out and take it down to the library and say, I need you to find this law in your system, and you print a copy out and you put your stamp on to certify that it came out of the public record because I need to use it as evidence in court, you would then have self-authenticating evidence. It would be a certified record that it came out of the public record. Right? So I'm just saying, you can print this out, take it down to the library and say, I need you to find this in your system, this law, 101, right? Print it out, put your stamp on it, say that it came out of the public record, whatever you guys do. I'm telling you how to do your job. I'm just telling you what I need. I need to use it as evidence in court. Whatever you need to do to make it so I can use it as self-authenticating evidence in court, I need you to do, please. Right? And then if you put that into court, it will be seen as evidence. Just like a properly executed Army sworn statement form would be. Okay, hang on again. Okay, now this is Title II, United States Code, Chapter 2. Right, this is the Congress. That's what's in Title II. It's all about the Congress in Title II. And Chapter 2 is about the organization of that Congress. And so we're just going to look at a few of these real quick, see what it says they're supposed to do, and then we'll see what they're doing. So the oath of office shall be administered by the President of the Senate to each senator who shall be elected previous to his taking a seat. Right, and that comes out of revised statute number 28. It says revised statute number 28 is derived from the Act of June 1st, 1789, which is 1 Stat 23. So it's saying in the United States Code of today that the oath that the senators are supposed to take is the oath from June 1st, 1789, but that is not the oath they take. Okay, then we go down to here. Oath of speakers and members and oath of speakers, members and delegates. So at the first session of Congress, after every general election of representatives, the oath of office shall be administered by any member of the House of Representatives to the Speaker, and by the Speaker to all members of the delegate present, and to the clerk previous to entering on any other business, and to the members and delegates who afterwards appear previous to their taking their seats. Okay, the clerk of the House of Representatives of the 80th and each succeeding Congress, well, we're at 117, so we're succeeding that, shall cause the oath of office to be printed, furnishing 2 copies to each member and delegate who has taken the oath in accordance with law, which shall be subscribed in person by the member or delegate, who shall thereupon deliver them to the clerk, one to be filed in the records of the House of Representatives, and the other to be recorded in the Journal of the House and in the Congressional Record. And such signed copies or certified copies thereof, or of either of such records thereof, shall be admissible in evidence in any court of the United States, and shall be held conclusive proof of the fact that the signer duly took the oath of office in accordance with law. Or, if they haven't, well, then they didn't. So, if you're one of the persecuted and you have an attorney, tell them to subpoena the clerk of the court or the clerk of the House of Representatives to bring in a signed copy of the oath of office to prove that the Congress is the one that was in the Capitol. Because if on the 6th these people had not taken the proper oath of office, then they weren't the Congress, they were the insurrectionists. And there's how you prove it. With Section 25 of Title II, United States Code. That'd be 2 U.S.C. Section 25, Oath of Speaker, Members, and Delegates. Okay, so as it was saying, right, that all these things eventually are supposed to be made record of in the Congressional Record. 1 copy goes to the records of the House, right? So that would be something the clerk should have. Let me go back there real quick. Right, so because we got we're going to sign 2 of them. All right, such signed copies or certified copies thereof are going to be evidence. So, who shall thereupon deliver them to the clerk, right? That'd be the clerk of the House of Representatives. 1 to be filed in the records of the House of Representatives, right? Well, the clerk keeps the records of the House, so the clerk should have a copy. And the other to be recorded in the Journal of the House and in the Congressional Record. So I don't know how they're going to take 1 and put it in both. What I do know is, well, we can go look at the Congressional Record and see if they did it. Because it says such signed copies are supposed to be put in the record. Okay, so let's go look. So this is the Congressional Record for the first day of the 117th Congress, right? January 3rd, 2021. And there's a whole procedure they're supposed to go through, which, just so I can have shown it, where is that at? All right, Congressional Research Service, the first day of a new Congress, a guide to proceedings on the House floor. All right, it's supposed to tell you what's going to happen. Well, at some point, you're going to, go through all these things, and you're going to get to the part where they're going to. What is on page 7? Authorizing and directing the speaker to administer the oath of office. Blah blah blah. 7. Swearing in of members, right? So, forgetting the speaker for a minute. Swearing in of members. The speaker is speaking now. The members-elect will rise and raise their right hand. The member-elect rose, and the speaker administered the oath of office to them as follows. Right? Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution? Yada yada. So help me God. Right? There it is. That's the same, basically the same wording that's in 5 U.S.C. 3331. Except instead of saying I, state your name, they're asking a question. So, that isn't the proper way to do it. Okay, so now it doesn't say anything in here that they subscribe these things. It's just that she gave them the oath, right? But if you went to the 28th and January 28th, 2021. I got to find the page again here. Hang on. Okay, so January 28th, 2021. Page H 237 if you're looking for evidence. Right? After adjournment, the Speaker, pursuant to Section 5A1B of the House Resolution 8, the House stands adjourned until 3 p.m. Monday, February 1st, 2021. Thereupon, at 9 o'clock, under the provision of this order, previous order, the House is adjourned until Monday, February 1st, 2021, 3 p.m. Okay, so they adjourn for the day. And now somebody's going to act like they're putting the oath of office required by the 6th Article of the Constitution of the United States and as provided by Section 2 of an Act of May 13, 1884, which is supposed to be 23 Stat 22, which is incorrect, to be administered to members, resident commissioners, and delegates of the House of Representatives, the text of which is carried in 5 U.S.C. 3331, where it says, I, A.B., do solemnly swear. Well, that isn't what they did. She said, according to this, do you solemnly swear? So on the 3rd, they said that. On the 28th, they're saying this. They're still saying that it was this particular oath that says, so help me God, which is a religious test. So that in itself makes it unconstitutional for satisfying the 6th article. But then it goes on to show the different names that these people use on their documents, like Eric A. Rick Crawford. Right? Well, that name isn't on anybody's driver's license. That's not his full legal name. Gus M. Bilirakis is not anybody's full legal name. C. Scott Franklin is not anybody's full legal name. W. Gregory Stubbe is not anybody's full legal name. Right? These aren't people's full legal names. So they took an invalid oath, an unconstitutional oath, and they hid their identity. I'd say that's counterfeiting. They counterfeited the proper oath. They're just pretending to have done it. But then after they have done all that and everybody's pretended to take the oath to satisfy the 6th Article of the Constitution, then they take an oath for access to classified information. So now they're getting state secrets using middle initial names, which, again, they're hiding their identity. People who are not in the Congress are now getting state secrets. That should be a military concern. So how do you tell the military tribunal? Because they don't seem to want to pay attention. Okay, so somebody questioned me before. Well, how do you know "So help me God" is a religious test, right? It had to be an attorney. I don't know. Who'd ask such a question? Like, duh, "So help me God"? Of course that's a religious test. But this is General Counsel of the Department of Defense. Administration of oaths. The United States Supreme Court in 1961 found unconstitutional provision of the Maryland Constitution that made a declaration of belief in the existence of God a qualification for public office. The court stated, we repeat, again, affirm, that neither state nor federal government can constitutionally force a person to profess a belief or disbelief in any religion. Neither the federal government nor states can constitutionally pass laws or impose requirements which aid all religious religions against non-believers, and neither can aid those religious based on belief in the existence of God, as against those religions founded on different beliefs. Further, the court stated, the fact that a person is not compelled to hold public office cannot possibly be an excuse for barring him from office by criteria forbidden by the Constitution, which basically are religious tests. So, yeah, it's a religious test. Okay. So, I gotta go to this website real quick. Okay. Hey, we're almost done, so hang with me a little bit more. A few more pieces of evidence, right? This is from the clerk's website, clerk.house.gov. Right now, the House is not in session. If you scroll down here, you got members' information. It talks about members' oaths. Okay, we'll click on that. And it'll take you over here to the constitutional oath of office. The oath of office to be administered to members, resident commissioners, and delegates of the House of Representatives is required by the 6th Article of the Constitution of the United States and as provided by Section 2 of an act. Right? So there's two different things. An oath required by the 6th Article and as provided by Section 2 of Act May 13th, 1884, 23 Stat 22, the text of which is carried in 5 U.S.C. 3331. And when you read 5 U.S.C. 3331, it says that this oath doesn't replace any other oath required by law. I'll be there in just a second. But it talks about this act right here, right? And it talks about oath required by the 6th Article. Well, we've already seen that oath is in 1 Stat 23 according to the First Congress. And so what did they do here? Members in mass, what did they do? Where's this going to take us? Oh, okay. This takes us to the Congressional record I just showed you, right? That oath of office of members. This was filed into the record after they had adjourned for the day. Now, that isn't all that was filed on the record after they adjourned for the day. Right? That would be bad enough, but they were just getting started. Right, because we're only on page 3. We've done the oath. Well, what else happened? Because this is just for one day. This is just January 28th in the House. Right, well, they got the oath for the classified information, took care of that. Then they started to put in public bills and resolutions. Right, they're filing all this stuff into the clerk, or all of this into the Congressional record after the session had ended. Right? It would be like them doing it today when the House is not in session. Right? Next session, March 29th. Right? So, like right now, somebody's sitting there pumping paper in and saying, well, yeah, this is all happening right now. I would have to believe that there's something criminal with that. Okay. Well, just a couple more things. Hang on. Alrighty, so just a real quick history on this oath then. So what is it, those oath they're talking about in 5 U.S.C. 3331? Right, IAB, do solemnly swear. Da-da-da-da, so help me God. Well, we can go look at that. Again, this is from 5 U.S.C. Part 3, Subpart B, Chapter 33, Subchapter 2, Oath of Office, Government Organization and Employees. An individual, except the president, elected or appointed to an office of honor or profit in the civil service or uniformed services, shall take the following oath. Well, that's not a member of Congress. Right? They don't have an office of honor. They don't have an office of profit. They're not in the civil service. They're not in the uniformed service. Right? They're under Article 6. Okay, so then it goes on to say all but the quoted language in these couple of sections is obsolete. We're going to look at those in just a second. But, it says here that the words "an individual except the president in the civil service or uniformed services" are substituted for any person either in the civil, military, or naval services except the president of the United States. Again, nothing in there about the Congress. But whoever these people are that do this, right, an officer within 30 days after the effective date of his appointment shall file with the oath of office required by Section 3331 of this title an affidavit that neither he or anyone acting on his behalf has given, transferred, promised, or paid any consideration for or an expectation of hope of receiving assistance in securing the appointment. Well, where's that stuff at? Right? So this would be like an FBI agent. Right? The people are coming to ATF to pick your executive branch buffoons that, none of them have an oath of office. Right? The postal inspector. Right? Where's your oath of office? Right? Employee affidavit, loyalty and striking. Except as provided in subsection B, an individual who accepts an office of employment in the government of the United States or in the government district of Columbia shall execute an affidavit within 60 days after accepting the office of employment that his acceptance and holding the office of employment does not or will not violate Section 7311 of this title. The affidavit is prima facie evidence that the acceptance and holding of an office or employment by the affidiate does not or will not violate 7311 of this title. So they put this thing on its standard form 61 from the Office of Management and Budget, I think, OMB, right? Standard form 61. I've shown in other videos where they actually bifurcate the wording of the oath. But this is in addition to, see, that's the problem. This affidavit has nothing to do with doing the oath. First, you do the oath. You got to do it in 30 days. And then within 60 days, you got to put in this other affidavit. But the oath had to be filed within 30 days. And it had to be with an affidavit about neither he or anyone acting on his behalf was given, transferred, or promised, or paid any consideration for or on the expectation or hope of receiving assistance in securing the appointment. Where are them documents at? Okay, hang on. But before I leave, why would that be important? Well, because somebody filled out some kind of complaint against you, claiming to be holding an office in the government. Well, subpoena his frickin' records to find out if he's actually an officer. That's why. Right? According to this, you had to have done this to be the officer that the person claims to be that's filing a complaint against you, or the information or whatever the hell it is. They had to have filed the oath in 3331 within 30 days with an affidavit that, about how they got their job. And then within 60 days, that it won't affect the loyalty and striking against the government. Well, I say if you join the bar, state bar, you've already disloyal to the government. And actually, one of the biggest federal government employee unions requires the union members to take an oath to the union. Right? Well, you can't be loyal to two different entities. I have to show that to you. I'll go find it in just a second. So hang on. Yeah, here it is. American Federation of Government Employees, the AFL-CIO, excuse me, Constitution. You got oath of union officers and oath of union membership. Well, how can you take an oath to two different entities, right? I state your name of my own free will and accord, do hereby solemnly promise and pledge my honor that I will be loyal and true to the American Federation of Government Employees, AFL-CIO. Right? I will abide by the laws, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Well, you can't do that. I'm afraid that doesn't work. Right? They took an oath to two different entities. So, but they do it, right? This is what every member of the union did. To get their job, they had to take that oath. Keep that in mind. Alrighty, hang on again. Okay, hey, we're almost done. But I wanted to show you this. This is Title 28, Judiciary and Judicial Procedure. And we will see that they have an oath of justices and judges, right? So this is 28 U.S.C. 453. Each justice or judge of the United States shall take the following oath or affirmation before performing the duties of his office. I state your name, you solemnly swear or affirm I will administer justice without respect to persons and do equal right to the poor and to the rich. I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all duties incumbent on me as blank under the Constitution and laws of the United States. So help me God. Well, that's the oath they're supposed to take, but according to this manual I found here, where's that at? Well, judicial branch, here it is. Right, appointment process for U.S. Circuit and District Court nominations and overview. If we go look at oath, right, oath of office, page 41. Right, the oath is in combination of a judicial oath required of every justice and judge of the United States under 28 U.S.C. 453 and the general oath administered to all federal government officials as set forth in 5 U.S.C. 3331. Well, we just saw what 5 U.S.C. 3331 is. It's not all of anything. It's an individual except the president, elected or appointed to an office of honor or profit in the civil service or uniformed services shall take the following oath. And that says nothing at all about the judicial branch, and yet they would have you believe from this manual that that's what they're going to take, and they actually say that it's a combination. Where'd they put that thing at? Right here. So I insert the name of the judge, do solemnly swear I will administer, da-da-da. So, the wording is almost right, but there's no "so help me God" here like they showed. And then they go on, and they've combined the oath from 5 U.S.C. 3331. But that isn't what it's said to do, right? I mean, if you had to take two different oaths, then take two different oaths. But they didn't take either of them because they altered the style of the oath. So that's what I'm saying, right? You're not, brothers and sisters, if you're one of these people, right, persecuted oath keeper, proud boy, or patriot, a capital defender on January 6, 2021, you got to turn the tables on the others and say, notice that on January 3rd, 2021, representative-elect imposters failed to qualify as members of Congress. They then unlawfully occupied the Capitol building and obstructed the certification of president-electors on January 6, 2021. Any more than that we'll have to save for another time. This video is getting kind of long now, but I hope I've shown enough that if you're one of these folks and you want to go try something besides just sit there and watch your attorney lead you over the cliff, right? You need to stand up and do something. And if you are a veteran, you can certainly claim you have the right to have trial by court-martial. I'm saying because it's all international laws of war anyways, that if you pay the $10 to the Red Cross, which you can do online, doesn't really matter. You're doing this just to clear your conscience to say you volunteered and gave them $10. You can make your own brassard, put it on your arm, a white band with a Red Cross on it, and claim to be a protected person, volunteer of the Red Cross, and say that you demand trial by court-martial. Right? Magistrate, I accept your oath. I bind you to it and remind you of your duty to God and country. I, Robert Allen Verlewski, am a protected person under the Geneva Conventions, and if necessary to prove my innocence, I demand trial by court-martial. And then see what he has to say. Right? But that's after he acknowledges that you've accepted his oath. Magistrate, do you acknowledge that? Do you acknowledge that I have accepted your oath? I need you to say yes. Please put it on the record. Right? Because I tell you, they'll look at the floor, they'll look over their glasses, they'll cough, they'll They'll say, the Constitution doesn't apply here. They do whatever the hell they're going to do, right? Because they're going to buffalo you, and you have to have a little faith. Put it in the hands of God, right? Whatever happens at that point is up to God, right? So he may want to show you something that you need to see, and this will be how you get to see it. Alrighty, I'm going to leave it there. Y'all have a great day. And let's see if we can get this United States straightened out again. See ya. I did have one more thing. Right, this is a sworn statement I'm trying right now. This is why I'm really trying to figure out how to get somebody to do the final page. But I filled it out this far, right? My location, well, I live in Oakfield Township. That's in Kent County in Michigan, right? The date, the time. You want my name backwards? There you are, Rutluski, comma, Robert Allen. See, there's no comma between Robert and Allen, so I don't have a middle name. If you're in the military, this is how they do your name when they do it backwards. Rutluski, comma, Robert Allen, not Rutluski, comma, Robert, comma, Allen, right? So they're acknowledging you don't have a middle name. Social Security number, my status, my grade, my address, right? So now if you've ever noticed on a commissioned officer's oath of office, you should go look at it if you haven't seen it, United States Commissioned Officer oath of office. You'll see that they have to put their Social Security number in with their name. And the reason for that is your Social Security number authenticates your name. Because there could be more than one Robert Allen Rutluski, but there only be one with that Social Security number. It's an authenticator. Right? So I authenticated myself. Want to make the following statement under oath. Gretchen Esther Whitmer, born August 23rd, 1971. Okay, that came off of Wikipedia. Currently residing at 2520 Oxford Road, Lansing, Michigan, 48911. That'd be the governor's mansion. Is impersonating the elected governor of Michigan. And she was fraudulently appointed to a military office of Commander-in-Chief, Michigan National Guard, in violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, Article 83, which is fraudulent enlistment, appointment, or separation. Gretchen Esther Whitmer omitted executing the oath of office required of all state executive and judicial officers by federal law for USC 101. We looked at that earlier. Oaths by members of legislatures and officers. And she counterfeited the oath of office required by Article 11, Section 1 of the Constitution of Michigan of 1963 as proof of claim on Wednesday, August 21st, 2019 at 5:41 p.m. My written Freedom of Information Act request for Gretchen Whitmer's oaths of office was received by mdos.foia, and to which I received a reply on August 28, 2019. This reply included a document entitled Oath of Office, subscribed by Gretchen Whitmer, received, filed, Michigan Department of State, Michigan Depth of State, be totally correct, on 2018 December DEC 11 p.m. 12.58. Hey, that's the way they put it, so I put it the same way. That evidence is a counterfeit of the oath of office required by Article 11, subsection 1 of the Constitution of Michigan 1963, was filed by Gretchen Esther Whitmer using the alias Gretchen Whitmer. The style of this filed oath of office differs from the style in the Constitution of Michigan of 1963. One of the differences is Constitution of the State, all lowercase, versus Constitution of the State, proper case. Right, that changes the grammar and meaning of the whole oath. Further, under Michigan law, MCL 15.37, Oath Administration, a notary public is unqualified to administer an oath to the governor, attorney general, secretary of state, lieutenant governor, or any member of state senate or state house. The reply did not include a copy of an executed oath of office required by federal law to satisfy the 6th Article of the Constitution of the United States. That'd be that 4 U.S.C. 101 again. Oath of members of legislatures and officers requires every member of a state legislature and every executive and judicial officer of the state, that'd be the governor, shall, before he proceeds to execute the duties of his office, take an oath in the following form. To wit, I state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. As Gretchen Esther Whitmer omitted the oath required by federal law 4 U.S.C. 101 to satisfy the 6th Article of the Constitution of the United States as mandated in an act to regulate the time and manner of administering certain oaths, that'd be 1 Stat 23, and filed a counterfeit oath required by Article 11, subsection 1 of the Constitution of Michigan of 1963, subscribed by her under a false identity, Gretchen Whitmer, and administered to her by an unqualified official, she has now impersonated a public officer, that'd be the governor, was fraudulently appointed Commander-in-Chief, Michigan National Guard, and is warned with the Constitution of the United States. End of statement, and nothing else follows. Right, so I need to get this part done here, and so I've sent it to the Michigan Department of Veterans Affairs to see if they're going to find me somebody to administer the oath. But all right, that's where I am. Right, here's the affidavit. I get the same person that did the sworn statements doing the affidavit. Just to show you that what I was talking about, though, right, here's my request, right, I put in, so this is where that information came from. And on the 28th, here's the answer I got. They didn't call me Alan. See that? Just put Robert. They don't like to use your full legal name. They don't want to identify you. This is how they want to identify you as Mr. Retluski, right? And you need to say, no, I'm not a Mr. But regardless, that's how they did it. And here's the oath they sent, saying that's the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, not Gretchen Esther Whitmer, which is her full legal name. No, Gretchen Whitmer, which is a nickname. It's not anybody's identity in the state of Michigan. Done by a notary. Well, they can't do that. 4 U.S.C. 101. Yeah, there it is. 1 Stat 23. Yeah, there it is. All right, so that should be enough to say, well, yeah, if you're not the governor, then you must have been fraudulently appointed to the office of Commander-in-Chief. And so, my idea is, well, I'll get this to the Adjutant General, hook or by crook, and put him on the hook. Make it all about him. Let him, let his conscience be examined by God. So, okay, now I'm done. You all have a great day. And let's see if we can get this thing figured out.